What up, big dog? How you living, gangster? Happy Sunday. Yup. Still Zigga up. There's a flu going on out here, bruh. First, he got my wife and both our babies. And then, he got me and our oldest son. And, bruh, I haven't been at work for like 5 days. Today's a long one. Grab your popcorn. Get comfortable. The wildlife of Undercover FBI Officer-Shaun.
They're like, it should be behind the desk and it's backed in the corner. And I see this guy over there and he looks terrified. He's like, I can see the carotid artery in his neck just bouncing, boom, boom, boom. And the chair's backed in the corner, so it doesn't look like it's where it's supposed to be. And he's leaned back in the chair, kind of holding himself like this. And he's not saying a word, and he looks just ghostly white and terrified.
Bro, hold on. Let me just get the motherfuckers on real quick.
Dope. I look around and I realize, like, we ain't getting out of here. They're going to kill us. They'll take the 20 grand that I got. They'll wrap that dope back up. They'll take off. They'll go back to Mexico. Kill us both. No one will ask any questions. They know what they're doing. I grew up in a small town in Iowa, and
so that's the introduction to that story. Okay.
Not a lot of people probably met people from a small town in Iowa, and I didn't know why I had a fascination with law enforcement, but like somehow I was drawn to it. I didn't know it at the time. I was a kid, and I was playing football, and the Iowa National Guard came by, and they dropped off watermelon to the football team, and I thought, man, I want to be in the Army. I want to be something amazing. I want to do stuff that chases adrenaline, and I had this fascination, this kind of fantasy of like being a ranger or doing some kind of crazy Army stuff, and they were like, listen, you can sign up now, and you can go to boot camp between your junior and senior year of high school. And I didn't know what that was going to do for my life, but I got it. The first time I'd ever been on an airplane in my entire life, I was 17. I left a small town named Clarendon, Iowa, flew to Fort Benning, Georgia. First time I'd been away from home, first time I'd really been outside of Iowa other than some of my experiences younger in my life. And I went to boot camp, learned a lot of discipline, came back, played football in my senior.
By the way, from what I heard, boot camp is not what it used to be anymore. For those of you that don't know, yes, I was in the Army. Long story, when I went to boot camp, like this shit was like, I think we only had our phone like once. But apparently now, motherfuckers allowed to have their phone, chill. I don't know, bruh. That's what I heard.
Year, went to high school like a normal kid would, I guess. I grew up with people who had strong work ethic. They had good morals, kind people, hardworking people. But I was kind of isolated to this like same group of people who, no disrespect to them, but the rest of the world was so big and unexperienced to most of them. And I was dying to get out of it, like in a way, you know, like I wanted to see more. And so my first trip out was to Fort Benning. I came back with discipline and a new kind of strength, a new kind of independence, a new kind of confidence. And they wouldn't let me go full Army yet, so I had to stay there for a few years, so I decided I'd go to college under the GI Bill. And I started college, but I wasn't feeling it. My aunt got me a job working at the sheriff's office in a jail. And so I'm working in a jail, and I'm dealing with this different side of society I'd never met. You know, the criminal world, people that have been into trouble, people that are struggling in their lives. I'm starting to learn how to like have conversations with these people. And I'm learning about them, and I'm learning how to articulate myself and talk my way in and out of stuff, you know? Like, you have to be careful when you deal with these types of people, the alpha males, these people who've been through different traumas and different violences and different kinds of things in their life. You can't tough guy them because they'll tough guy you back. So you learn how to like empathize and sympathize, yet remain in a position of authority.
A lot of y'all fake street niggas should take note from this. Yeah, you not the toughest one, nigga. There's always a motherfucker tougher than you, bro. Use your brain.
How to like talk your way in and out of trouble for the most part. While I was working there, the sheriff at the time, basically I had taken a test, like I knew at some point I decided like this is a pretty fascinating career. Like in my mind, in my fantasies, like I always dreamed about like working undercover in law enforcement. And at first it was like, I don't know what this is going to be or what this means, but he gave me an opportunity. He was like, one of the deputies had gotten fired. He'd actually been charged with child abuse. He had harmed both of his twin children. He had been indicted. He was in jail.
Wait. He what? You know, this is why, right? I always forget. I can't hear without subtitles, bro. I don't. Yes, I'm fucking old. So what? Fuck off.
He had harmed both of his twin children.
Oh, harmed.
He had been indicted. He was in jail. And they had an opening.
Somehow, some way, I thought he said harmed Doc or some shit.
A couple of guys left him with to the state patrol. And so the sheriff at the time, who had kind of got to know me as a young kid, I was only 19 when I started there. He said, hey, I have an opportunity. I want to send you to the police academy. You had taken a test and you were put on like a qualification list. Basically like you're on a hireable list. And I think he was looking for someone more mature and someone who had experience, but in this time of need, in this kind of desperate moment where he needed personnel, he said he'd called the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy and said, I can send you to the police academy, but you can't own your own gun and you can't buy ammunition. But he was like, I found out we can own the gun and we can buy the ammunition and we can put you through the academy. So I go through this police academy. At the time, that was like very structured, similar to boot camp, which I had basically just gotten out of. And
Southwide Underbelly is about giving people a space to tell their stories. This is why Ground News is a permission we recites local news.
No disrespect to you,
such as where it tends to
be.
be, showing you news start code at live in. But with more /SW, you're helping.
we spent the nights there, we spent the week there, come home on the weekends, and you learn basic policing.
I think they still do that though. Back when I was working at my last job, there was a dude there that's now a cop. I think that's what they did. They still do. You train throughout the week and then you go home on the weekend.
EVOC, self-defense, shooting, things like that. Fourth Amendment rights is a big part of your job. Then I became a deputy sheriff in small town Iowa. I think maybe we had 10 deputies at the time. And this would have been 1996. And throughout the Midwest, Iowa, probably...
Damn, this nigga old as hell, bruh. 1996, that was 30 years ago, bro. It was 19. Shit, still old. Goddamn.
A lot of the country, methamphetamine was like taking over the world at the time. And I came from my parents were together. They both had good jobs. We went to school. We had good upbringing. You know, I had never been around like
had the perfect
dark side of life, I guess, if you will. Like, I'd never seen the criminal side or like the other parts of life that I didn't know. And methamphetamine being a big thing at the time, there wasn't Mexican dope, there wasn't crystal meth, there was meth labs. And so, I mean, we called them tweakers, no disrespect to them or anything like that, but it was like a different part of, they were addicts, and they chased it. And they would buy pills, and they would cook dope. And so I learned how to cook dope. I went to these different schools and how to like take down methamphetamine labs. And because I was working in a small area, we didn't have these like, we didn't have a high call for service. If you live in a big city and you think of neighborhoods where nobody calls the police, when you go to a small town, nobody calls the police for anything. They're very loyal to their neighbors. They're very protective of their people. And they kind of mind their own business, so...
Now, what he meant to say is, this small town, they don't give a fuck about the law. Somebody will shoot your ass and get it over with.
I'd patrol in the middle of the night and really not take a whole call of service.
So it's not bullshit. You know, like, there's plenty of movies you've seen where it's like, the dude get to like a small town, motherfuckers doing all type of shit, cops can't do nothing. This shit happened in real life.
I became proactive. And I would pull over cars. I remember one night, the first time I'd seen, they called it crank back then. Before crystal meth, it was crank. And these guys were cooking dope and they'd buy these things called mini thins. It was like ephedrine pills. You could buy them at truck stops. And they basically would go through this big process with anhydrous ammonia and break this down and create this methamphetamine in small batch amounts and trade it amongst themselves. And all these crazy things are going on. We're doing meth labs constantly. But even in these small towns...
This is why people admire and respect crackheads. Huh? Bro, do you know the amount of determination? Think about it, bro. This man have to go and learn how to cook dope just to get high. That's dedication. I'm just playing. Say no to drugs. Do not do drugs.
Growing up the way I grew up, I had never seen violence. I had never seen depression and like this side of life. I remember one night I pulled over this car. There's a black Monte Carlo. I'm driving down the highway. There's nobody out. It's 2:30, maybe 2:30 o'clock in the morning. And this black Monte Carlo is coming down the road, and I see it, and I'm thinking, like, there's definitely something about this car that I want to look at. So I turn around to follow this car down the highway. Again, like, I'm 20, 21, maybe 22 at the most. And
see, he brave, bro. He was young, stupid, foolish, but he was brave. Cause I'm not gonna lie, I'm 21, 22 years old, cop, 2:30 in the morning, ain't nobody outside. I see a suspicious car. I'm legally blind, PLP. What? No, I ain't doing that.
It's just blacked out. Like, if you can kind of imagine, like, it's what a bad guy would look like. 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a black car. It's black, old, probably like, maybe like early 80s, maybe late 70s Monte Carlo. And it turns its blinker on left, and it can go into town. And it turns the blinker on, it slows down like it's going to make its turn, and it turns right down a gravel road.
Oh.
And so I'm like, there's no problem.
Whoa. You about to go in there? You don't tell me you about to follow this dude. I'm jumping the gun.
So I was to pull him over, they used the wrong turn signal. Now, I don't know anything about what I'm about to get into, and I stopped this car, and there's 4 people in it. There's a heavy-set guy up front in the passenger seat. There's 2 girls in the back seat, and there's this, I guess, kind of scary looking
How are you still alive?
Car. Walk up. Oh, before I stopped him, we're on a highway. We're in the lights. We're in the main part of town. He could have turned left, going into town, but he turned right, and instead of stopping, he continued down the gravel road, just traveling along. And he finally stops, and it's pitch black out there. And I walk up to the car, and the driver's there, and I'm like, where are you coming from? Where are you going? I stopped you because of this turn signal.
Dumbass nigga.
I can smell alcohol on him. Pull him out of the car. At this time, I'm barely a cop. I don't even know tactics. I barely had an FTO. I've barely been exposed to anything like this. Long story short of this, just talking about the early time of my career, I pull him out. I don't have any backup. Backup in these small counties, these rural areas, are like 20 minutes away, maybe more, depending if there's even anybody awake or working. Maybe a state trooper is 20 minutes away. So
if anything happened to you now, is that your fault? You know that if shit goes wrong, there's no backup, but you still go through with it. Is that bravery or foolishness?
Things by yourself. And when you do things by yourself, you're careful, but you still want to get in there. So I pull him out. I go through it. Long story short, I end up arresting him for driving under the influence. But what I didn't know is there was more things going on in the car. Handcuff him, put him back in the car. Now this guy, because you're in a small town, that's a unique thing too, because you get to know the people that you work around. Kind of like, I think it kind of happens like what you do in your life is going to change what happens to you later in your life. If you're a nice guy and you treat people right and you're a good person, it can change what can happen to you. So my little sister and this guy driving a car, who I didn't even know at the time, his daughter had grown up with my little sister. So he knew me, even though he didn't know me, he knew my family. And I think some bad things were probably going to happen, and he decided to let it go.
That's what saved your ass. That's what saved your stupid ass. Yay. Foolishness. That's what it is. Fucking foolishness.
What I didn't know is once I got him in the car and I got him handcuffed and the other people had left the car, I was waiting on a tow truck. Then I look under the floor mat of the passenger seat, and there's a container with a pound of methamphetamine, pseudoephedrine pills, a bunch of other stuff. And there's an AK-47 by the A-pillar. Loaded.
Oh, so they had drugs in the car.
Ready to go right by the door on the driver's side. And I was like, man, why would this be here? And I thought to myself, after that,
stupid
he could have turned left, went into town, and took me into the lights where it'd be safe, but instead he took me down this dirt road. And I really believe
Pop your ass.
maybe they had a different sinister plan. I don't know. There's no way to tell. But he probably recognized me, remembered me growing up, remembered when I was a nice kid, and decided to let it go. I took him into custody. I called my sergeant. I said, I found all this marijuana, which back then, marijuana was a big deal. It was still illegal. And I was like, there's this white powder underneath there, a bunch of white powder. And he's like, who do you have? And I tell him the name. And he's like, oh my God, like, he's probably one of the biggest meth cooks in 3 counties. And so they called like State Department of Division Narcotics. They take me with them to go do search warrants throughout the night. We find pot bombs and guns and meth labs and all this crazy stuff. And after that happened, I was like, this is fun.
This is the wrong introduction, bro. Cause it's like, it's not teaching him nothing about safety. It's just like, this is like some movie shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody happy, everybody win. He don't see no death. You hear what he said? This is fun. I wanna do more. Oh boy, you about to experience some shit.
This is exciting, actually. Like, even though it sounds terrifying, like I crave the adrenaline, and I wanted more of it. And so I knew then, like, this was going to be my career, but it wasn't going to be in that place. But to kind of continue down that transition, I hadn't seen a lot of violence yet, so that was kind of my first experience with crystal meth. And crystal meth's a big part of my 90s career. I remember I was working another time, and it was like, again, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Dispatch comes across for a home invasion. It's like an armed robbery of your house. And I knew the house and I knew the people's name. As a young kid, I think he was 19, his sister was maybe 22, and they lived together in this low-income housing, small town in a rural county. And dispatch says, they're screaming, there's been an assault, someone's been taken. And I have to go there by myself in the middle of the night. There's no one around to help me. So again, I show up. The front door is kicked off of the house. Like when I show up, it's pitch black. There's no street lights in it.
Again, I'm crazy. I'll still go. Can I die? Yes, but I'm crazy. Let me go.
These towns. And the door's kicked off. And I look in the house and his sister's crying and she's upset. And the like end table, the glass thing in the middle, whatever's busted to pieces and the house is disarray. And she's crying. And they took him. Like, they took who? It's like, they took my brother. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? Who took him? She's like, I don't know. It's like 2 guys kicked in the door. They beat him up. They busted the place up. They handcuffed him. They threw him in the trunk of a car and they took him. Now, I know these people to be drug users. And sometimes they get a little meth psychosis, maybe. Like, you're not sure what's true and what's not true. You're trying to, like, calm it down. Because the worst thing you do is get excited and overreact. So you're trying to calm it down. And you're like, what do you mean someone took him? Like, that doesn't happen a lot. No one kicks in a door and kidnaps somebody. And she insists, like, he was buying meth from these guys. They live out in another part of town, but even further out in the country, and they're cooking dope, cooking meth. And they don't always have money, so they trade stolen property for meth, for dope. And she said, him and his buddy saw these 2 four-wheelers at the farm when they were out there buying dope, and they went back and they stole them. Well, what the kid didn't know is these 2 guys, they've been in prison a lot. They've committed lots of acts of violence, and they're not people you should be messing with.
Fucking stupid ass. But then again, when you a drug head, bruh, you don't care. Whatever that needs to be done, you'll do it for a hit. That's kind of wild, bro. Don't do drugs, kid. Do not do drugs.
But he took the four-wheelers. And they take
a little weed is alright here and there, you know. Yeah, that's cool, but nigga, don't go with that. Fuck no.
That personal, very, very personal. So he's missing, and I don't know what to do. So I just kind of start driving the perimeter, gravel roads, outside perimeters around this house, and I find this kid walking down the gravel road, and he's been beat. He's pretty beat up. He's bloodied up, and he's definitely very upset. Get him in. I'm like, tell me what happened. He tells me the story about taking the four-wheelers and about the door getting kicked in. And I said, where do they take you? And he says, they took me to a cemetery. So I have him give me directions to the cemetery. I drive out there and we're looking around. You can see there's been like cars in there, you know, the dew and the grass is distorted because now it's starting to get daylight. You can kind of see better. You can see the tire tracks. You can see they've been there recently. And there's 2 condoms on the ground. And I'm like, what? Did they rape you? And he didn't want to admit it. You know, I say that. And I don't think it was a sexually driven assault, but it was a dominance. And it was just an extremely violent, horrible thing to do to somebody. And they did this to this kid. And he didn't want to admit it, but it happened.
Wow. Wow. We gotta get that back in blood.
And so we go through the court time, we go to trial. In fact, it gets moved out of our county to another county to kind of maintain safety for this kid and his sister. And it comes out that he was sexually assaulted. The guys go to prison, but the kid's impacted. Now, it's crazy how things like that can change a person's direction in their life, because he was a kid with a drug addiction and came from nothing and didn't have much, but after that he was a different person. So while I'm working in a small county, I'm learning these different things. I'm learning how to talk to people, and I'm learning about what can happen, what happens in society outside of normal society. Like, most of us don't have a window into that society. When you're a police officer, you see things that's like, you see one person's view, and then another, and then another, and then another, and they're all brutal. They're all wildly crazy. Some are less impacting and some are more. But this particular kid stands out in my mind because after that, I knew I didn't work there anymore, and I decided to go to a metropolitan police department, like a bigger police department, like much bigger. And 4 years after that happened, this kid and his girlfriend are at a rock quarry and they're having a bonfire. And he's still hooked on dope. And I'm not at that department anymore, but my old partner, Tony.
This fucking fool still doing dope. Still shooting dope.
I'm like, yeah, he goes, him and his girlfriend were at a bonfire at the rock quarry. They were camping. And he lost a teener of dope. Well, teener dope's like maybe 1.5 grams of meth, something like that. Mm-hmm. But they get addicted to it, and they get inside their head, and they get worked up about stuff. And this kid admits to him, he says, yeah, I thought she stole it. So I put a zip tie around her neck, and I lit a cigarette. And I watched her spin around in circles until she was dead. And then he cut her up. And he put her in a bonfire to try to get rid of her body, and he couldn't get rid of it, so he dumped it in a well. And that's a horrible thing. I mean, I hate to even describe that to you, but in this dark world, in this place, like, people's lives are changed.
Well, yeah, that's enough for today. That's enough. We'll finish it at the next video. Yeah. Appreciate y'all watching. Peace.